Aya. Okay, so good morning, everyone. So for today, we are going to discuss about learning and development. So in this part, now we're going to focus on the practical application of the discussions of the learning and development, of course. Excuse me. Because learning and development actually is one of the core areas of human resource management, and our presenter will be able to give us a comprehensive guide to learning and development, and we will be able to answer that learning and development is and how to create learning and development strategies, evaluate learning and development effectiveness, and possible list and differentiate jobs that make the learning and development field. Learning and development is a systematic process to enhance the employee skills, knowledge, and competency, resulting in better performance in work setting. Especially or specifically, learning is concerned with the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and attitude. And on the other hand, development is the broadening and deepening of knowledge in the line with one's development goals. So the goal of learning and development is to develop or change the behavior of individuals or groups for the better. Sharing knowledge and insights that enable them to do their work better or cultivate attitudes that help them perform better. So learning, training, and development are often used interchangeably. However, there are subtle differences between this concept, which of course discussed by our presenter. Okay, so to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter.
So good morning everyone po. A quick overview lang po dito sa chapter na to. First is the strategic learning and development, followed by the process of learning and development, the practice of learning and development, as well as the leadership management development. So tulad lang po yung sinabi ni Sir kanina, ang pinaka-tough lang po nito is that after na nga po ng processing natin ng interview and everything in connection po dun sa hiring, of course, kailangan nating i-train as well as i-enhance yung learning ng participants o ng mga employees na kinuha natin. Which is kailangan po nating mag-conduct ng iba't ibang types ng training as well as yun nga po, sinabi ni Doc kanina, sharing, especially ng mga seniors na mas nauna and mas well-trained na dun sa company as well as dun sa pinaka-environment nga ng company na of course magkaka-affect dun sa working din po and sa pinaka-tawag dito. Pinaka-performance din po ng employee. Introduction, the learning and development strategies aim to ensure that people in the organization acquire and develop the knowledge, skills, and competencies that they need to carry out their work effectively and advance their careers to their own benefit and that of the organization. Of course, we're going to hire employees and train them, syempre, in connection din po dun sa goal ng company. We're also going to hire employees na mag-contribute ng kung hindi man ganun kalaking contribution, at least some contributions para ma-meet yung goal ng company. The term learning and development, or simply the L&D, has largely replaced that of human resource development, which is the HRD, for at least for practitioners. Ang explanation naman dito is that, of course, who would be happy considering or knowing rather that the company hires you as a resource person. Kasi sabi dito sa book, the term HRD retains its popularity among academics, but it has never been attractive to practitioners. They tend to dislike it because they see its reference to people as a resource to be the meaning. Putting people on a par with money, materials, and equipment creates the impression of development as an unfeeling, manipulative activity, although the two terms are almost indistinguishable. Sino naman kasing employee ang matutuwa na magstay dun sa company if nakikita nila na yung treatment lang ng company sa kanila is mere employee per se. Like for example, walang pakialam yung company sa kanila, walang training man lang na kinakandak, something like that. As per Rosemary Harrison, the term HRD retains its popularity among academics, but it has never been attractive to practitioners. Ito po yung nabanggit ko kanina. People as a resource to be the meaning. The terms are indeed often used interchangeably by commentators and practitioners, although the introduction of learning has emphasized the belief that what matters for individual is they are given the opportunity to learn, often for themselves with the guidance and support rather than just being on the receiving end of what the organization provides. Company also must give the opportunity sa mga employees to learn on their own para syempre i-put into action din nila kung ano man yung natutunan nila theoretically or with the trainings na kinakandak ng company. As for Walton, strategic human resource development involves introducing, eliminating, modifying, directing, and guiding processes in such a way that all individuals and teams are equipped with the skills, knowledge, and competencies they require to undertake current and future tasks required by the organization. This part deals with L&D under the following headings: strategic and learning development, the process of learning and development, the practice of learning and development, as well as the leadership and management development. Organizations need people with high and appropriate level of knowledge, skills, and abilities. Organizations also need to take account of the personal needs of those they employ for development and growth. L&D definition: learning and development is the process of ensuring that the organization has the knowledge, skilled, and engaged workforce it needs. It involves facilitating the acquisition by individuals and teams of knowledge and skills through experience, learning events, and programs provided by the organization, guidance and coaching provided by line managers and others. Ito yung mga sa senior employees natin or sa mga immediate officers natin. And self-directed learning activities carried out by the individuals. For Harrison, the primary purpose of learning and development for organizational process aids collective progress through the collaborative, expert, and ethical stimulation and facilitation of learning and knowledge that support business goals, develop individual potential and respect, and build on diversity. Let's tackle naman po the components of L&D. First is learning, development, training, and of course, education. Learning. It is the process by which person acquire and develop knowledge, skills, capabilities, behaviors, and attitudes. Nung college tayo, of course, we did learn yung mga informations regarding sa courses natin respectively. wherein nag-learn tayo theoretically or through the books and the learning materials that our professors or the school provided. Learning versus training, magkaiba kasi itong learning and training. Learning is the process by which a person constructs new knowledge, skills, and capabilities, whereas training is one of the several responses an organization can undertake to promote learning. It's not just by learning kasi matututo yung mga employees natin. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na pag nagbigay tayo ng learning materials sa kanila or nag-conduct tayo ng mga theoretical studies, like nung college tayo, walang possibility, hindi ibig sabihin na by that per se, magkakaroon tayo ng employees wherein sobrang engaged dun sa goals ng company. Of course, we also need to conduct, or the company rather, needs to conduct training para ma-put into action din yung mga learnings na provide natin sa mga employees. Development. The growth or realization of a person's ability and potential through the provision of learning educational experience. Training is the systematic application of formal processes to impart knowledge and help people to acquire the skills necessary for them to perform their jobs. Dito sa training, I think this is also the practical application of what we have learned, of course. Yun nga po yung nabanggit ko kanina. Sa training natin, mapuput into actions lahat ng mga napag-aralan natin. Kasi sa training din natin, mas maintindihan kung ano man yung mga napag-aralan natin previously. Like for example, hindi mo naman maintindihan per se through learning materials yung mga processes. For example, nag-conduct ka ng learning, tapos wala din namang training. Especially if the employee is new to the company, or for example, fresh graduate, wala siya talagang basic knowledge or experience. Sabihin na natin experience kasi kakagraduate niya lang. Pag hindi natin sila kinandak o hindi natin sila pinag-undergo sa training, even if we provided the learning on them, that employee may not have a positive contribution to the company. Kasi kahit na may learning tayo na natutunan or may natutunan tayo through the learning materials provided by the company, if hindi natin ito ma-practice, kasi sa training, mapapractice na natin siya practically kasi i-expose tayo ng company dun sa pinaka-thought ng buong process as well as kung paano talaga siya ginagawa. Kasi may mga employees, for me, ako din dito, mas okay if ginagawa namin personally yung process compare dun sa narinig lang namin kung paano siya gawin. I mean, mas okay dun sa employee na yun na siya mismo yung mag-process kasi within or dun sa process training na yun, mas maintindihan niya yung flow and kung ano man yung impact nun na may bibigay dun sa company if ever mag-fail siya dun sa pinaka-flow ng process. For example, sa operations, sa bank, pag may na-miss out kaming operational process, yes, pag may na-miss out kami kahit isa, since yung process flow namin is continuous sa operation, may possibilities na yung operational flow din namin o yung takbo ng operations will be put to stop or rather may magiging bad effect yun sa company. And yun yung iniiwasan of course ng mga employers natin, especially ng management. It may be small problem na mag-create or magpa-pop up through that employee na hindi natin nabigyan ng training, it will also cause damage, of course. Kung hindi man sa buong reputation ng company, it will at least give bad effect dun sa whole company. So it is important to have or to conduct training sa mga employees. Lastly is the education. The development of the knowledge, values, and understanding required in all aspects of life rather than the knowledge and skills relating to particular areas of activities. Sa training din naman natin din lahat matututunan. So sa education process, dito talaga may enhance or yung pinaka-thought in general nung learning, training. Kasi sa education, syempre hindi rin naman papabayaan ng mga employers yung employees nila. Still, sabi nga nila, education is a continuous process. So, in our daily routine sa employee, andyan pa rin yung mga seniors natin as well as yung mga immediate supervisors and officers natin to guide us along the way. Strategic learning and development defined. Strategic L&D is an approach to helping people to learn and develop that is concerned with how the organization's goal will be achieved through its human resources by means of integrated learning and development strategies, policies, and practices. It also aims to produce a coherent and comprehensive framework for developing people through the creation of learning culture and the formulation of organizational and individual learning strategies. It is therefore about developing the intellectual capital required by the organization as well as ensuring that people It is therefore about developing the intellectual capital required by the organization as well as ensuring that people of the right quality are available to meet present and future needs. The main thrust of strategic learning and development is to provide an environment in which people are encouraged to learn and develop. Of course, hindi lang naman importante na may learning, may training, and may education yung isang employee. Of course, makaka-affect nga yung pinaka-environment or working environment kung saan tayo daily na pumapasok and makaka-affect yun sa performance natin. For example, pag walang good working environment dun sa office natin, made-degrade din yung self-confidence natin as well as yung relationship natin dun sa mga ka-office mate natin, sa mga katrabaho natin. So it is important for the company to have a very good working environment for their employees also to exert the best effort they could have. Ito yung learning chart ng learning and development. Organizational learning, individual learning and development, blended learning, training, leadership, and management development. Under organizational learning, it focuses on the creation of knowledge and the use of that knowledge within the organization. The key aspects also of organizational learning theory are that learning happens when people interact while finding and solving problems. Next, individual learning and development. It is the process involving a change in person's behavior or knowledge, and it is also a tool to employees or individuals in their careers and personal development. Blended learning naman po, it is a style of training in which employees learn via electronic and online media as well as traditional face-to-face training. Especially nowadays, medyo dito po tayo part sa blended learning na naka-classify kasi di ba nga po medyo restricted na rin yung pagkakaroon ng face-to-face training. So sa company din po namin, whenever there are new employees, hindi na kami pure face-to-face training, nagkakandak ng training for that employee to train. We're also conducting na po meetings or discussions through Teams, Microsoft Teams, wherein doon na po namin sinishare yung mga thoughts namin, especially pag nagtitrain din po ako ng new employee na makakasama namin sa operations. Hindi na po siya face-to-face kasi may split operations na din kami sa bank. May mga employees na rin po kami on staff na kasama na nasa kabilang building. Of course, to follow din po yung health restriction natin, wherein kailangan din natin ng social distancing within sa office. So paano nga namin ititrain yung employee if nandun siya sa kabilang building? So the company or kami personally dun sa operation, nagkakanda kami ng training. If hindi man namin face-to-face na makikakandak or matitrain yung employee, of course via Teams, Microsoft Teams na kami nag-uusap-usap as a group or yung employee as well as the trainer rather. Doon na kami nag-uusap-usap to enhance and of course to explain kung ano po yung pinaka-process nung kung ano din po yung pinaka-description din nung in-apply niyang position and kung paano niya yun ma-work through dun sa company. Kanina na pag-aralan natin yung training and ayun nga po, under training pa din, an activity leading to skilled behavior, teaching employees the basic skills they need to perform their jobs. It is also the heart of a continuous effort designed to improve employee competency and organizational performance. Tulad ng education, training also is a continuous process. Even if matagal na tayo sa company, even if yung mga seniors din natin, through daily routine din natin, may bago pa rin tayo na nakukuha from day-to-day activities natin. Kasi doon sa mga ginagawa natin daily, nakakahanap din tayo ng ways kung paano natin to magagawa na mas madali and more efficient sa time natin. Learning and development philosophy. Philosophy underpinning strategic learning and development is as follows. Learning and development activities make a major contribution to the successful attainment of the objectives, and investment in it benefits all the stakeholders of the organization. Also, learning and development in plans and programs should be integrated with and support the achievement of the business and human resource strategies. Of course, under learning and development plans, lahat ng program, lahat ng mga naka-list down na trainings na i-undertake ng isang employee, it should be integrated. And ang endpoint nito is yung pinaka-aim ng business or ng company. Learning and development should be performance-related, designed to achieve specified improvements in corporate, functional, team, and individual performance and make a major contribution to bottom line results. Everyone in the organization should be encouraged and given the opportunity to learn and develop their skills and knowledge to the maximum of their capacity. The framework for individual learning is provided by personal development plans that focus on self-managed learning and are supported by coaching, mentoring, and formal training. Of course, given na nag-undergo ng training, ng education, and learning yung employee, it is also important na magkaroon din po siya ng tinatawag nating self-managed learning. Kasi siya mismo dapat yung mag-develop lahat ng mga napag-aralan niya kung paano niya to ipuput into action para mas maging efficient siya sa work niya. Since not everything is being taught by our seniors or by our immediate officers. The organization needs to invest in learning and development by providing appropriate learning opportunities and facilities, but the prime responsibility for learning and development rests with the individuals who will be given the guidance and support of their managers and as necessarily members of the HRD. Skip na lang din po natin itong business case. It improves individual, team, and corporate performance. It also attracts high-quality employees by offering them learning and development opportunities, increasing their levels of competency and enhancing their skills, thus enabling them to obtain more job satisfaction, to gain higher rewards to the progress within the organization. If good or if satisfying yung kinakandak nating trainings sa mga employees, of course, through word of mouth, magiging encouragement din ito sa other job seekers na mag-apply dun sa company or dun sa business wherein yun nga, may establish yung good reputation ng company wherein tinitrain talaga nila or pusan nilang tinitrain yung employees nila for them to have or to develop, to enhance their skills para mas maging fit sila dun sa position wherein dun sila na-hire. It also improves operational flexibility by extending the range of skills possessed by employees. Multitasking. Multi-skilling rather. Under this multi-skilling, pag kasi multi-skilling yung binabanggit for me, it is not only required, I mean, hindi lang isang skill yung na ma-manifest dun sa work natin. Not specifically na, for example, sa process ng work natin, kailangan din natin ng multi-skilling nga. Kasi nga, especially kapag yung work natin is on operation, wherein sabi ko kanina, continuous yung process, it is required na magkaroon ka ng multi-skilling as well as magkanda ka ng multitasking dun sa position mo. Kasi ang kalaban mo dun sa operation is that yung time as well as kung paano mo madedeliver na maayos yung mga yung mga operational documents sa client. Since on operations, paspasan yung mga ginagawa natin wherein continuous yung process as well as yung time ang kalaban natin. Kaya need talaga siya ng multi-skilling and also multitasking. It also increased the commitment of employees by encouraging them to identify with the mission and objectives of the organization. It also helped to manage change by increasing understanding of the reasons for it and then providing people with the knowledge and skills they need to adjust to new situation. It provides line managers with the skills required to lead, manage, and develop their people. So under L&D, hindi lang yung employees per se yung nati-train, but of course the manager as well as yung mga immediate officers natin since through conducting such training sa employees, mas lalo rin nilang ma-enhance yung kung paano sila mag-manage din ng people and kung paano nila i-handle yung different types of employees. Impact of learning and development on performance. For Benaboo, it reached which was that in most cases, a well-designed training program can be linked to improvements in business results and that return on investment in training program is very high. If the company really conducts a good training on its employee, of course, they will also expect a high result wherein ito yung tinatawag nilang return on investment since nag-invest sila dun sa training process ng employee. So they're also expecting for that employee naman to give back to the company yung nagastos or sabihin na lang investment ng management sa kanila through its efficiency sa work and kung paano niya ma-deliver yung work niya in such a way na magkakaroon siya ng good contribution sa company. Furtherly naman, in their longitudinal study of 308 companies found that extensive training produced a gain of nearly 6% in value added per employee. So they conducted naman studies wherein 308 companies found that extensive training produced a gain of nearly 6% in value added per employee. As per Aragon and Vail, it has also the impact of training on the performance of managers, established that firms that train their managers obtain better results than those that do not, and that the intensive training contributes to improve performance. So, tulad po na nabanggit ko kanina, training and development is not only for its employees, for its staff, but of course, sa mga immediate officers din niya, especially sa mga officers wherein sila mismo yung pinaka first line na nakikipag-communicate and nag-handle sa mga staff nila. Learning and development strategies. Learning and development strategies are the active components of an overall approach to strategic learning and development. They express the organization's intentions on how L&D activities will take place and provide guidance on how these activities should be planned and implemented. They are concerned with developing a learning culture, promoting organizational learning, and providing for individual learning. The learning culture is one in which learning is recognized by top management. Line managers and employees generally on an essential organizational process to which they are committed and in which they engage continuously. The characteristic of a learning culture are self-managed learning, not instruction, long-term capacity building, not short-term fixes, and empowerment, not supervision. For Reynolds, he described a learning culture as a growth medium in which employees will commit to a range of positive discretionary behaviors, including learning. He also suggested that to create a learning culture, it is necessary to develop organizational practices that give employees a sense of purpose in the workplace, grant employees opportunity to act upon their commitment, and offer practical support and learning. It is also important din na magkaroon yung employees ng sense of purpose dun sa mismong company wherein mabuboost din yung morale niya as well as the confidence dun sa work person. Kasi if an employee feels that hindi naman siya part ng company, of course, madidegrade yung morale niya as well as yung performance niya will not be that efficient and higher possibility na hindi rin niya maibibigay yung best effort niya to contribute something on the company. It is also important for the employee to have din po the sense of purpose sa company para magkaroon din siya ng good social relationship dun sa mga co-employees niya since I think good relationship towards employees will also contribute to our learnings and development since they are practically sila yung pinaka day-to-day na kasama natin. So at some point, may natutunan tayo sa bawat isa when we're going to interact with them in a good sense. The steps required to create the learning cultures as proposed by Reynolds. First is develop and share the vision. It is belief in a desired and emerging future. Next, empower employees, provide supported autonomy, freedom for employees to manage their work within certain boundaries, policies, and expected behaviors, but with support available as required. Freedom, of course, is important in some nature sa working nature natin, sa working environment natin. Since when we feel that we're not being restricted, makakagalaw tayo freely and madideliver natin yung mga deliveries natin, like kung ano yung dapat natin gawin in with everything we need, since nafe-feel natin na okay lang na gawin natin yung work natin na walang restrictions, pero in connection to that, of course, we're not totally given the freedom to act on our own. Of course, we're free in such a way that we are also abiding pa rin still dun sa rules and regulations ng company. Though binibigyan tayo ng freedom to work on our own, pero syempre, considering na yung ginagawa natin is also inclined pa rin and in connection pa rin dun sa rules and regulations ng company, para hindi rin ma-disturb yung working flow ng buong company or ng buong department na kung saan kakabilang. It provides employees with a supportive learning environment where learning capabilities can be discovered and applied. Peer networks, supportive policies and systems, and protected time for learning. Next, use coaching techniques. Draw out the talents of others by encouraging employees to identify options and seek their own solutions to problems. Guide employees through their work challenges and provide them the time, resources, and crucially, feedback. Recognize the importance of managers, since sila yung pinaka-acting role model sa company. Guide employees, it also involves feedback since tinetrain tayo. Of course, it is time-bounded din, wherein within that time frame, kailangan mo ring maaral din lahat ng dapat mong aralin to perform the job. And of course, your immediate supervisor or your immediate officer will give you feedback kung ano na yung development mo since pumasok ka since day one, as well as kung ano na yung lacking pa rin sa'yo. Parang ganun po yung yung pinakatot niyan. Since pag tinetrain tayo, of course, we also need to grasp everything. If hindi man everything, of course, at least something to develop and to enhance our skills para makapag-work tayo effectively. Dito sa feedback din, I think dito na rin po pumapasok yung good learning criticisms ng mga seniors natin as well as ng mga supervisors or the immediate officers. Since sila personally nakakita kung ano na yung development mo since day one, as well as kung ano pa rin yung dapat mong improve and kung ano yung mga dapat mong tanggalin or kung ano yung dapat mong iwasan throughout sa process para mas magkaroon ka ng efficient or matawag dito, act out mo ng mas maayos yung trabaho mo. Encourage networks, communities of practice. I think encourage networks. It involves na rin po dito yung full team siguro. Since sila yung nakakasama natin daily and sa kanila din po natin natututunan yung mga bagay-bagay din po na magbibigay rin sa atin ng ideas kung paano natin mas magagawa na maayos yung work natin. Align systems to vision. Get rid of bureaucratic systems that produce problems rather than facilitate work. Bureaucratic systems in such a way na mafe-feel ng employee na kung ano lang yung binibigay ng management, kung ano lang yung restrictions, kung ano man yung mga rules and regulations ng management, yun lang dapat yung gawin. So magkakaroon tayo dito naman ng fear din sa management, wherein yun din yung dapat iwasan ng management since dapat ma-feel nga ng employee na belong siya dun sa company and may freedom pa rin siya kahit papano to work out on his own. Of course, in connections pa rin sa rules and regulation ng company. Organizational learning strategies aim to improve organizational effectiveness through the acquisition and development of knowledge, understanding, insights, techniques, and practices. For Ehrenberg and Smith, human capital theory indicates that the knowledge and skills a worker has, which comes from education and training, including the training that experience brings, generate productive capital. Sabi ng mga elders natin, ang pinaka-good teacher din pa rin natin is that yung mga experiences natin previously and yung mga ma-experience pa natin in the future. Kasi not everything will be taught through training and through the studies that we're undergoing. Yung pinaka-ano pa rin natin dyan is yung experience natin sa work natin. Since yung experience na to yung magbibigay sa atin din ng learning, kung paano natin i-handle pa yung mga same situations like that, and kung paano natin i-handle yung mga future situations, if not that similar, pero medyo kamukha ng mga past experience natin. So, mas magiging madali na sa atin to work out our job through these experiences na nag-gain natin sa work natin. Individual learning comprises the processes and programs used to increase the capabilities of individual employees. Strategies for individual learning are driven by the organization's human resource requirements, which are expressed in terms of the skills and behaviors required to achieve business goals. Strategies should cover how learning needs will be identified, the role of self-managed learning, the facilitation of workplace learning, as well as the support that should be provided for individual learning in the form of guidance, coaching, mentoring, learning resource centers, e-learning, and internal or external training programs and courses which the company will conduct. The process of learning and development. So the practice of learning and development should be based on an understanding of learning theory and the processes involved in learning and development. How people learn. Individuals learn for themselves, but they also learn from other people. They learn by merely doing through experiential learning and to a much lesser extent by instructions. How do we learn? Of course, we learn through our experiences sa workplace natin. And of course, we learn through our interactions, from day-to-day interactions natin sa co-employees natin. It also takes place when individuals of their own volition actively seek to acquire the knowledge and skills they need to carry out their work effectively. It should be encouraged and supported. And ito yung tinatawag nating discretionary learning or self-directed or self-managed. Under this naman, kailangan din ng employee na siya mismo yung magkaroon ng aim sa self niya, kung ano yung mga dapat niya matutunan, kung ano yung mga kailangan niya pang matutunan para magkaroon din siya ng effective and efficient working performance sa company. Since sabi ko kanina, not everything will be taught by our coaches, by our mentors, by our seniors. Kailangan din natin magkaroon ng self-willed or magkaroon tayo ng self-motivation na mag-aral pa rin tayo on our own. In addition dun sa training and programs na kinakandak ng companies through those officers nga na nagme-mentor and nag-train sa atin from day-to-day activities. Nagkaroon din ng case analysis, parang ganun, or studies rather, sina Lombardo and Eichinger, if tama yung pronunciation ko. According to this, the 70-20-10 model for learning and development is based on research conducted by the Center for Creative Learning. This model explains that people's development will be about 70% from work experience, about 20% for social learning through managers by example and feedback, and by fellow workers, and the 10% naman from courses and reading. So 70% rather came from work experiences. From our day-to-day work, or sa parang daily routine na natin, I think this is also accurate, mas natututo tayo dito sa mga experiences natin from our day-to-day activities, compare if doon lang talaga tayo sa mga learning materials na binibigay ng company. Since nagagawa na natin personally yung process, mas naiintindihan na natin yung process, mas magkakaroon din tayo ng or rather mas ma-enhance natin yung kailangang skills para ma-workout natin yung mga dapat i-workout sa job natin, as well as kung ano yung mga kailangan natin gawin para mas maging effective employee tayo. The 20% naman is from the social learning or din sa mga ka-interact natin from day to day, which is yung mga co-employees natin, yung managers natin, yung mga supervisors natin, and yung mga bosses personally. Since yung mga seniors natin din yung nagtitrain din sa atin, learning and development will also be established dito, kaso nga lang daw, 20% lang. And the rest, which is the 10%, is from courses and reading na pinoprovide ng company natin, wherein tong 10% na to for some individuals, mas lesser yung effectivity niya in terms of acquiring knowledge and learnings compared dun sa work experience and sa social learning from our co-employees and immediate supervisors. The key learning theories. First, reinforcement theory. Based on the work of Skinner, this expresses the belief that changes in behavior take place as a result of an individual's response to event or stimuli and ensuing consequences such as the rewards or punishments. Under this reinforcement theory, sabi dito, it is the result of an individual's response to event or stimuli and the ensuing consequences. For example, the reward or the punishment. The reward, of course, will be given to you if you have manifested or if nagkaroon ka ng good contribution sa company. And in contradict to this punishment, if may na-violate kang rules and regulation within that company. Next, cognitive learning theory. Learning involves gaining knowledge and understanding by observing information in the form of principles, concepts, and facts, and then internalizing it. Third, experiential learning theory. Experiential learning theory takes place when people learn from their experiences by observing and reflecting on it so that it can be understood and applied. Social learning theory. This states that effective learning requires social interaction. Granger suggested also that we all participate in communities of practice. Groups of people with shared expertise work together, and that these are primary sources of learning. People will learn more effectively if they are motivated to learn, syempre. As for Reynolds, the disposition and commitment of the learner, their motivation to learn, is one of the most critical factors affecting training effectiveness. Under the right conditions, a strong disposition to learn enhanced by solid experience and a positive attitude can lead to exceptional performance. Two motivation theories. First is the expectancy theory. It states that goal-directed behavior is driven by the expectation of achieving something that the individual regards as desirable. Under this expectancy theory, it suggests that all learnings was the result of associations formed by conditioning, reinforcement, and punishment. Learnings can be occurred by simply observing the actions of others. And also under expectancy theory of motivation, valence or the instrumentality expectancy theory, it is a person's motivation rather is directly tied to an expected outcome as a result of their hard work and labor. Valence means ito yung level ng value that an individual places on the rewards as a function of their needs and goals, as well as the value. The employees or individuals' performances will determine the level of valence present for motivation. Under this naman, having the motivation to do things given or fact that you're expecting something to gain from doing such. So dito, under expectancy theory, nagkakaroon tayo ng motivation kapag may dinedesire tayong something in return dun sa i-render nating work. Next is the goal theory. It states that motivation is higher when individuals aim to achieve specific goals. When these goals are accepted and although difficult, are achievable, and when there is feedback on performance. Ang balik lang ako sa expectancy theory. Under this, may mga benefits din tayo sa company na dinedesire din natin. For example, the perfect attendance benefit quarterly sa amin sa bank. Para may yun kasi kami sa China Bank. So, namomotivate kami na pumasok ng maaga and namomotivate kami na wag mag-leave since ang ang ina-expect namin at the end of the quarter, if wala kaming absent, wala kaming late, magkakaroon kami ng reward wherein yun yung perfect attendance reward in monetary terms. And increasing kasi yun. So, mas namomotivate kami na pumasok ng mas maaga or if hindi man maaga, at least not late than 8:30 para magkaroon kami ng reward na yun. For goal theory naman, for me, ito yung pinaka nagiging motivation din sa mga employee since may goal tayo na gusto nating i-achieve. Like for example, ano yung goal natin in doing masteral? It may be personal, it may be connected sa work, or kung ano man yung reason mo kung bakit ka nagmamasteral, yun yung magiging driving force mo to pursue what you're dreaming for or what is your goal. And yun yung magiging driving force mo din na even if you're experiencing such hardship in doing so, mag-continue ka pa rin since may goal ka na gusto mong achieve. Learning styles. Learning theories describe in general terms how people learn, but individual learners will have different styles, syempre. The most familiar classifications of learning styles are those produced by Kolb and Honey and Mumford. For Kolb's learning style inventory, Kolb identified a learning cycle consisting of 4 stages. These 4 stages were defined as follows. First is the concrete experience. This can be planned or accidental. Under concrete experience naman, having the actual experience. A learning ability or mode that requires the feeling or sensing when learning from experiences. Under this pa rin, this might be a new experience or situation or as a reinterpretation of existing experience in the light of new concept. Concrete means tangible. So, for some naman kasi, mas okay sila if concrete yung experience. Mas dun sila nagkakaroon ng learning and mas dun nila nade-develop yung skills which are needed to perform their jobs more effectively. Also, reflective observation. Under reflective observation, or the reflective observation of the new experience, the learner reflects on the new experience in the light of their existing knowledge. Knowledge of particular importance or any inconsistencies between experience and understanding. It involves actively thinking about the experience and its significance. If we experience something, of course, nagkakaroon din tayo ng thought na kung ano yung magiging implication nito. For example, we experience some difficulties sa company since hindi natin na-act out na maayos yung process. Magkakaroon din tayo ng thoughts wherein may isip natin kung ano yung magiging consequences na pwedeng ma-generate dun sa faulty behavior na nangyari or kung ano man yung magiging impact nun sa company itself. Third is the abstract conceptualization. Reflection gives rise to a new idea or a modification of existing abstract. Wherein the person and the individual has learned from their past experiences. Generalizing from experience to develop various concepts and ideas that can be applied when similar situations are encountered. So since na-experience na natin to from the past, mas ma-handle na natin siya ng tama if we're going to experience it second time, third time, or kung kailan man natin siya ma-experience, since same situation has been encountered before, mas magkakaroon tayo ng better solution on how we can handle this same situation na nangyari naman na before. Fourth, active experimentation. Under active experimentation, the newly created or modified concepts give rise to experimentation. The learner applies their idea or ideas to the world around them to see what happens naman. Testing the concepts or ideas in new situations. This gives rise to a new concrete experience and the cycle begins again. Under active experimentation, nagka-conduct din here ng tawag dito. In-act out kasi natin kung ano yung ideas na possible na maging o possible na nag-fit dun sa situation. And if hindi man to effective, of course, magkakaroon din tayo ng panibagong experience wherein the cycle begins again. Since experimentation naman siya, hindi naman every time yung mga ideas or yung concept na i-apply natin is very much effective dun sa certain situation na yun. So, under this experimentation, active experimentation theory naman, yun nga, yung parang ginagawa natin before nung nasa college pa tayo, if we're undergoing some experiments, nagkakaroon tayo ng conclusions wherein itong possible solution na to might not be a fitting solution dun sa situation na ganito or dun sa situation na ganyan. Parang ganun. Another analysis of learning styles was made by Honey and Mumford. They identified the following 4 styles. First, activists, wherein who involve themselves fully without bias in new experiences and revel in new challenges. Under activists, I think under this, yung statement na, can I have a go at doing this now, is ito yung statement na activist people commonly have or has. Since under activists, they involve themselves fully nga without bias in their experiences. So parang ang thought nila, can I have a go at doing this now? So yun yung pinaka driving statement naman dito under activist people. Next is reflectors. We stand back and observe new experiences from different angles. They collect data, reflect on it, and then come to a solution. Balik lang ako. Under activists naman, people who learn best by doing things they like to get their hands dirty. In such a sense na mas prefer nila na ma-experience personally compare sa theory lang, sa mere theory lang per se. And they are enthusiastic about being thrown in at the deep end and trying new things. They love to tackle problems using brainstorming sessions with others to figure things out. They're more happy to lead these sessions themselves. When there's enthusiasm for an experience begins to wane, they immediately start to look for the next challenge. Under activists also yung statement na, I'll do it, let's give it a try, let's just get it started naman yung pinaka-thought. For theorists, reflectors. Reflector are people who learn best when they can observe others and think about what they have just observed. They avoid jumping straight in and prefer to watch first. They like to collect data from many sources and perspectives, then think about it thoroughly before reaching any conclusion. They are cautious and like to consider all the angles before committing to action. It's like parang reserved type ng person. If parang go lang sila kung yung parang gusto nilang mas ma-experience for themselves, so go lang sila. Under reflectors naman, aaralin muna nila bago sila conclude and bago sila mag-act out. Aralin muna nila lahat ng mga possible na mangyayari before nila gawin yung mga bagay-bagay. Third is the theorist. Theorists naman are people who learn best by understanding the theory behind something the way it is. They need models, concepts, and facts to be able to learn effectively. They enjoy analyzing and assimilating information to form their own theories. They value logic and rational thinking. What they are learning must have a logic purpose naman in order for them to engage with it. They live to be able to ask questions so that they can form their own opinions. This statement, let's look at the bigger picture. Where does it fit in naman are under theories. Theories also adopt and apply their observations in the form of logical theories tulad ng banggit ko kanina, and they tend to be perfectionist. Pragmatists. We're keen to try new ideas, approaches, and concepts to see if they work. Under these, they learn best when they can see how what they are learning can be put into practice in the real world. They like to take a new idea they have learned and immediately try to put it into practice. They also want to seek out new ways to use what they have learned in practice, and they are also practical, down-to-earth types who like to get on and get things done. So yung statement naman here is that, what is the point? What's the problem and what are we going to do about it naman? However, none of these four learning styles is exclusive. It is quite possible that one person could be both a reflector and theorist, and someone could be an activist or can be pragmatic, or a reflector and pragmatic in combination, or even a theorist or pragmatist. Use of learning style theory. Learning style theory can be used in the design and conduct of learning events or personal development programs. Learning situations can be set up to fit the learning style of participants. The problem is that people do not necessarily have a single learning style, and there certainly will be a large range of style in any learning group. It may therefore be difficult to fit the approach to the style. It also means na kung ano man yung learning style na nabanggit or yung four learning styles, hindi lahat yon is applicable sa lahat ng tao. I mean, may kanya-kanya kasi tayong learning style kahit nung college tayo or kung dun sa ano natin, may mga ina-adapt tayong learning style na sa tingin natin mas better yon compared sa other learning style wherein mas natututo tayo through that learning style naman. Mas natututo tayo na mas may natututunan tayo through that style compared dun sa mga other style na nabanggit na can be also possible sa iba na hindi rin naman effective or hindi rin naman magiging effective sa lahat. People learn all the time and through doing to acquire knowledge, skills, and insight. But they will learn more effectively if they learn how to learn. The process of learning, according to Hani, is the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and insights about the learning process itself. It aims to provide a basis for organizing and planning learning, pinpoint precisely what has been learned and what to do better or differently as a consequence. It also aims to share what has been learned with other people so that they benefit. Check on the quality of what has been learned, transfer what has been learned and apply it in different circumstances, as well as it aims to improve the learning process itself so that how people learn, not just what people learn, is given constant attention. The learning curve. The concept of the learning curve refers to the time it takes an experienced person to reach the required level of performance in a job or a task, which is sometimes called the experienced worker's standard. But rates of learning vary depending on the effectiveness of the training, the experience, and the natural aptitude of the learner and the latter's intent in learning. Learning is often stepped with one or more plateaus, wherein may papakita later on dun sa chart or dun sa picture, while further progress is halted. This may be because learners cannot continually increase their skills or speeds of work and need a pause to consolidate what they have already learned. So, ito yung kanina. So, tulad nga ng definition kanina, the concept of the learning curve refers to the time it takes an experienced person to reach the required level of performance. Under here, ito yung tinatawag natin na plateaus, wherein ano yung sabi kanina? Learning is often steps with one or more here. Or hindi siya unlike dito, yung curve niya is pa ganyan, so parang increasing yan. And ito naman, nag-start siya sa low, pero increasing pa din naman siya. Pero ito yung pinaka-standard tong parang dotted lines na to. Or dito naman sa kabila, dito sa figure 22.4, a step learning curve, ito yung mga plateaus. Hindi consistent yung learning since sabi kanina, while further progress is halted. This may be because learners cannot continually increase their skills or speeds of work. Kaya may mga learning plateaus din na nangyayari since na-halt yung learning ng employees. For them, siguro to process pa din or to grasp din completely kung ano yung mga natutunan nila since for new employees, of course, hindi may iwasan na ma-overwhelm din sila dun sa mga learnings na ina-undergo nila. Organizational learning. Organizational learning theory is concerned with how learning takes place in within the organizations. It focuses on collective learning, but takes into account the proposition made by our juries that organizations do not perform the actions that produce the learning. It is individual members of the organization who behave in ways that lead to it. Other organizations can create conditions that facilitate such learning. The process of organizational learning can be characterized as an intricate three-stage process consisting of knowledge acquisition, dissemination, and shared implementation. Our jury suggested that organizational learning occurs under two conditions. First, when an organization achieves what is intended, and second, when a mismatch between intentions and outcomes is identified and corrected. He distinguished between single loops and double loop learning. These two types of learning may have been described as adaptive or generative learning. First, let's discuss naman the single loop or the adaptive learning. It is incremental learning that does no more than correct deviations from the norm by making small changes and improves without challenging assumptions, beliefs, or decisions. Under single loop also, constantly adjusting actions until desired results are achieved is being focused in it. Double loop or generative learning rather. It involves challenging assumptions, beliefs, norms, and decisions rather than accepting them. On this basis, learning takes place through the examination of the root causes of problems so that a new learning loop is established that goes far deeper than the traditional learning loop provided by single loop or instrumental learning. Under this, pinuput into account natin kung ano yung root cause or kung ano yung naging sanhi ng problem na to, wherein ma-develop natin or magkakaroon tayo ng new solution para to address this problem and para magkaroon din tayo ng basis if something in the future happened the same like that then. For Easter B. Smith and Araujo, single loop learning could be linked to incremental change. In contrast, double loop learning is associated with radical change which may involve a major change in strategic direction. It is generally assumed that double loop learning is superior, but there are situations wherein single loop naman may be more appropriate. Under this figure 22.5, single loop learning and double loop learning. Define expectations. Take actions, monitor and review. For single loop to, take action, monitor and review, and then decide on corrective action as necessary. Under naman double loop, take action, monitor and review, redefine expectations as necessary, and then saka ka magde-decide ng necessary solution. I'm not sure if it's Senge or Senge who originated the idea as one where people continually expand their capacity to create the results they truly desire, where new and expansive patterns of thinking are nurtured, where collective aspiration is set free, and where people are continually learning how to learn together naman yung notion niya in terms of the learning organization. For Wick and Leo naman, learning organization is one that continually improves by rapidly creating and refining the capabilities required for future success. For Pedler, learning organization is an organization that facilitates the learning of all its members and continually transforms itself. For Garvin, he suggested that learning organizations are good at doing 5 things. Systematic problem solving, which rests heavily on the philosophy of and methods of the quality movements. Its underlying ideas include relying on scientific method rather than guesswork for diagnosing problems. Under systematic problem solving, the decisions are based on scientific methods nga to diagnose problem. Accuracy and precision are critical. For experimentation naman, it is where the activity involves the systematic search for and testing of new knowledge. Continuous improvement programs are an important feature in a learning organization. For experimentation with new approaches includes the systematic search for a systematic testing of new knowledge. It also comprises both one-time or the demonstration project and continuous experiments, which we call the research and development. Third thing, learning from past experience. Learning organizations review their successes and failures, assess them systematically, and record their lessons learned in a way that employees find open and accessible. This process has been called the Santayana Principle, quoting the philosopher George Santayana, who coined the phrase, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Since we already experienced naman na those past experiences, we're going to have better solution if we already failed from the previous one. And with this, magkakaroon tayo ng better understanding dun sa situation na yun wherein mas magkakaroon tayo ng development sa learnings or sa skills na appropriate in such situation. Fourth, learning from others. Sometimes the most powerful insight came from looking outside one's immediate environment to gain a new perspective. This process has been called SIS, for steal ideas shamelessly. Another more acceptable word for it is benchmarking, a disciplined process by identifying best practice organizations and analyzing the extent to which what they are doing can be transferred with suitable modifications to one's own environment. Under learning from others, learning from the experiences and best practices of others comprises benchmarking with clients or other external organizations to develop new ideas. The fifth one, transferring knowledge quickly and efficiently throughout the organization. Transferring knowledge quickly and efficiently throughout the organization, in the sense that by seconding people with new expertise or by education and training programs, as long as the latter are linked explicitly with implementations. Here also, transferring knowledge quickly and efficiently throughout the organization through written or oral reports, personnel rotations, or training. Personal rotations, here naman, nag-rotate ng job sa company or sa isang team to develop kung ano man yung learning skills na natutunan ng isa ay matututunan din ng isa. Like for example, sa bank din, may rotation din kaming tinatawag. Yung nagpo-process, possible na siya yung magsasettle next month or next quarter, and then vice versa. Para yung learning or yung work experience na experience mo through processing the settlement, hindi lang yun yung matututunan mo all throughout your career sa bank. Na parang magkakaroon tayo kasi ng notion na pag yun lang, nagkakaroon na ng routinary or yung routine natin is that parang stagnant na lang since yun na lang yung handle mo. So, nag-develop yung management na mag-rotate ng job loads yung mga employees for them naman to experience new ones. Self-directed learning. Self-directed or self-managed learning involves encouraging individuals to take responsibility for their own learning needs, either to improve performance in their present job or to develop their potential and satisfy their career aspirations. Practice and learning development. This chapter deals with the conduct of learning and development activities within the organizations. It covers how learning needs are identified, the basic approaches of workplace learning and self-directed learning, how workshop learning can be enhanced through activities such as coaching and mentoring, training techniques and programs, the concept of blended learning, how learning can be evaluated, and the responsibility of learning. Gap analysis. The gap learning needs analysis is often described as the process of identifying the learning gap between what is and what should be. Gap analysis involves identifying the gap between what people know and can do and what they should know and be able to do, so that the learning needed to fill the gap can be specified. This chapter deals with the conduct of learning and development activities in the organizations. Under the gap learning, what is, ito yung actual performance level, knowledge and skills possessed by the employee. Then yung learning gap, ito yung nag-represent ng learning gap, itong line na to. Papunta dito sa what should be, wherein the performance level required, knowledge and skill required. So to fill out this learning gap, ayun nga, kaya nagka-conduct ng training and learning to develop the skills na kailangan ng employee to have a more efficient and better performance sa kanyang company. Analysis of business and workforce plans. Excuse me. Business and workforce plans should indicate in general terms the types of skills and competencies they may be required in the future and the numbers of people with those skills and competencies who will be needed. Special surveys or an interviewing program can obtain the views of managers and other employees on what they need to learn. However, the material gathered from a survey may be unspecific, and when interviewed, people may find it difficult to articulate what they want. Under these surveys, nagka-conduct sila ng surveys kung ano pa yung need na improve within the organization. Kaso nga lang, the thing here is that some employees, sabi dito, may find it difficult to articulate what they want. I mean, hindi nila ma-express or hindi nila ma-explain yung self nila in such a way na mas maintindihan sila ng management. So yun naman yung pinaka-down side nitong surveys. Performance and development reviews. Performance management processes should be a prime source of information about individual learning and development needs. Reviews should include an analysis of role requirements in the shape of knowledge, skills, and abilities, and the behavioral competencies needed to perform effectively, taking into account any new demands that will be made on the role holder. Role analysis. It is the basis for preparing role profiles that provide a framework for analyzing and identifying learning needs. Role profiles set out the key result areas of the role, but importantly, also define the competencies required to perform it. Role analysis naman, the process of defining a role in the context of its work system. In terms of expectation of important persons, detailing specific tasks under each function is also includes here. Skill analysis. Skills analysis determines the skills required to achieve an acceptable standard of performance. It is mainly used for technical, craft, manual, and office jobs to provide the basis for devising learning and training programs. Lastly, evaluation. Further information should be obtained by learning evaluations or the assessment. Sa companies natin, may mga performance evaluation din tayo na kinakandak ng mga officers natin to furthermore understand din yung employee wherein kung ano man yung lacking pa, kung saan na siya ano na yung na-develop niya within that time frame, and kung ano pa yung dapat niyang i-develop for that employee to have din more efficient performance or a better performance rather. Approaches to learning and development. This emphasizes that people learn mainly from experience, and therefore most learning takes place in the workplace, as confirmed by the 70-20-10 model na touch natin kanina. It also indicates that people learned best when they do it themselves, or the self-directed learning. Workplace learning. Workplace learning is experiential learning. It is learning by doing and by reflecting on experience so that it can be understood and applied. Workplace learning also is largely an informal process, although line managers have an important part to play in facilitating it. For Reynolds, the simple act of observing more experienced colleagues can accelerate learning. Conversing, swapping stories, cooperating on tasks, and offering mutual supports deepen and solidify the process. Like what we have discussed, or like what I have mentioned before, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng learning or mas nag-deepen yung learning natin through our senior officers, through our immediate officers, as well as sa mga senior employees or sa mga co-employees natin all throughout the working process. The practice of learning and development skill. The characteristic of workplace learning were explained by Stern and Sommerlad. Stern and Sommerlad defines or gives the ideas of the workplace as a site for learning. In this case, learning and working are spatially separated with some form of structured learning activity occurring off or near the job. This may be a training island in the department or on the shop floor where the production process is produced for trainees. Next, the workplace is a learning environment. Of course, in this approach, the workplace itself becomes an environment for learning. Various on-the-job activities such as coaching, mentoring, job rotation, job shadowing, and cross-functional or cross-site project work can be conducted, which are structured to different Sige. I think dito rin pumapasok yung body-body system or yung cross-functional or cross-site. Cross-functional kasi in the sense na kung ano yung skills or kung ano yung knowledge ng isang employee, kailangan alam din nung partner niya dun sa team para in case na mag-leave or may emergency leave yung employee na yon, hindi may stop yung process or yung operation. It is also important to have this kind of training din para ma-boost out din yung confidence ng isang employee sa work, wherein even if wala yung talagang nag-handle nitong process nito, may confidence pa rin siya na kaya niyang saluhin or kaya niyang gawin kung ano man yung ginagawa ng employee na naka-leave or may emergency kaya hindi nakapasok. Of course, para ma-continue pa rin yung process and di magkaroon ng disturbance sa company. Learning and working are inextricably mixed. In this case, learning is informal. It becomes an everyday part of the job and is built into routine tasks. Self-directed learning is based on a process of recording achievement and action planning, which means that individual reviews what they have learned, what they have achieved, what their goals are, and how are they going to achieve those goals, and what new learning they need to acquire it. The learning program can be self-paced, in the sense that learners can decide for themselves, up to a point, the rate at which they learn, and are encouraged to measure their own progress and adjust the program accordingly. Under this habit, self-paced. So, nasa sa employee yun if gano'n niya kabilis or gano'n siya kabilis mag-adapt or yung training per se. Self-paced, pero he must also see to it na even if it is self-paced, time-bounded pa din siya. We're in such a manner na at the end, nung time frame na to, even if hindi niya nasunod or myself, hawak niya yung oras niya, ang pinaka-main goal pa rin na kailangan niyang ma-achieve is kailangan niya pa rin ma-achieve. Even if yung learning process niya, hawak niya. Kasi 'di ba, parang kapag under self-paced, hawak mo yung oras mo, hawak mo yung time kung kailan yung learning mo ay ma-achieve mo. For example, yung dun sa first phase, kailangan mo ma-target tong learning and skill na to within 1 week. Pero since it is self-paced naman, even if within that 1 week, hindi mo pa siya na-achieve, okay lang yun. As well as at the end of the program or the time-bounded program pa din, na-achieve mo yung pinaka-main goal na na-set before ka man mag-undergo na training. Enhancing workplace learning. Experiential learning in the workplace is important, but it should not be left to chance. It needs to be enhanced by such means as induction learning, planned experience, coaching, mentoring, e-learning, and personal development planning. Induction. Most new other than those on formal training schemes will learn on the job. Although this may be supplemented with special off-the-job courses to develop particular skills or knowledge. On-the-job training can be haphazard, inefficient, and wasteful. A planned systematic approach is desirable. Planned experience. It's the process of deciding on a sequence of experience that will enable people to obtain the knowledge and skills required in their jobs and prepare them to take on increased responsibilities. This enables experiential learning to take place to meet a learning specification. For coaching, it is a personal, usually one-on-one approach to helping people develop their skills and knowledge and improve their performance. The need for coaching may arise from formal or informal performance reviews. But opportunities for coaching will emerge during everyday activities. Coaching as part of the normal process of management consists of using whatever situations may arise as opportunities to promote learning. And then controlled delegation naman, ensuring that individuals not only know what is expected of them, but also understand what they need to know and be able to do to complete the task satisfactorily. This gives managers an opportunity to provide guidance at the outset. Guidance at the latter stage may be seen as interference. Under coaching pa din, making people aware of how well they are performing by, for example, asking them questions to establish the extent to which they have thought through what they are doing, encouraging people to look at higher level problems and how they would tackle them. Of course, hindi lang dapat stagnant yung learning natin or yung skills natin, but of course, kailangan din siyang ma-level up at some point while we do the training or habang tumatagal din tayo dun sa position na yun, kailangan din nag-increase yung level ng understanding natin dun sa work job or yung load na binigay sa atin. Mentoring, it is the process of using specially selected and trained individuals to provide guidance, pragmatic advice, and continuing support that will help the person or person allocated to them to learn and develop. This is especially being done sa mga new employees, newly hired sa isang organization, since mentoring yung pinaka-usual way para magkaroon ng better understanding rather, yung employee dun sa papasukan niyang or hahawakan niyang position. E-learning involves the use of computer, networks, and web-based technology to provide learning material and guidance to individual employees. It can be delivered through a firm's intranet system. E-learning naman, nagpo-provide din yung some employer, kung hindi man lahat, ng mga e-learning sites wherein doon natin o doon makikita ng mga employees or doon sila pwedeng magbasa-basa para mas maintindihan nila yung hawak nilang position. Personal development planning is carried out by individuals with guidance, encouragement, and help from their managers, usually on the basis of performance and development reviews. A personal development plan sets out the actions people propose to take to learn and to develop themselves. Under personal development planning, in-encourage din to ng mga supervisors and mga immediate officers natin for us to have that goal din, personal goal, magkaroon tayo ng development, magkaroon ng enhanced skills habang tumatagal tayo, wherein dito din nila sinishare na kailangan natin ng personal development din for the promotion or for the possible, if hindi man promotion, para ma-widen din yung hawak mong process habang nagkakaroon ka ng, habang tumatagal ka dun sa work na yun. Since, sabi nga kanina, hindi dapat stagnant yung learning development natin at hindi rin dapat stagnant or hindi lang dapat yun yung skill mo, na since pumasok ka, yun na yung skill na na-develop mo, hindi dapat na habang tumatagal ka, yun lang din yung skill na meron ka. I mean, dapat habang tumatagal tayo dun sa company, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng understanding dun sa whole process, kung hindi man dun sa specific or particular work na hinahawakan mo, work process na hinahawakan mo. But of course, considering din yung full or yung whole business na kinabibilangan mo. The stages of personal development planning. Analyze current situation and development needs. This can be done as part of a performance management process. Then next, set goals. This could include improving performance in the current job, improving or acquiring skills, extending relevant knowledge, developing specified areas of competence, moving across or upward in the organization, preparing for the challenges in the current role. While having this personal development planning or plans, syempre, nagsaset din tayo ng goals to develop or to achieve that personal development. Also, it includes, it also involves the preparation of action plan. The action plan sets out what needs to be done, and how it will be done under headings such as outcomes expected, the learning objectives, the development activities, the responsibility for development, or what individuals are expected to do, and the support they will get from their manager, the HR development, or the other people, and of course, the timing. Prepare action plan involves kung ano yung process na dapat mong i-undergone to achieve the set goals and to have that personal development pa din. Implement, take actions as planned. The plan can be expressed in the form of a learning contract, which is a formal agreement between the manager and the individual on what learning needs to take place, the objectives of such learning, and what part the individual, the manager, and the L&D function or a mentor will play in ensuring the learning happens. At banks, may tinatawag kaming SPP, wherein yung mga tenured or yung mga mga mas matagal na, mga senior employees nag-undergone na ng supervisory training. And it involves, of course, yung learning din, yung time frame. May time frame din yung learning na yun. For example, parang 5 months. To prepare ka din for the next, for the supervisory level na dinahawakan mo. Since tumagal ka na sa institution na kinabibilangan mo, of course, need din ng employee na maboost yung moral mo through promoting you and through conducting such training wherein magkakaroon ka ng better understanding and better, or for you to develop skills na need to perform din a better and to perform din in such a way na mas magi-increase yung performance level mo better and satisfying more than what you have rendered before. Training. It is the use of systematic and planned instruction activities to promote learning. The approach can be summarized in the phrase learner-based training. It is one of several responses an organization can undertake to promote learning. Transferring training. The problem of transferring training was raised by Reynolds, which follows. Some types of intervention can disrupt self-directed learning by paying insufficient attention to the needs of the learner in the work context. Methods that rely heavily on the transfer of external expertise or content to employees carry the highest risk in this regard, since their design is often removed from the context in which work is created. As a result, it is impossible to meet learning needs adequately. For transferring training then, halimbawa, transferring training or transferring knowledge then within the team is very important then to follow, syempre. Kasi pag nagta-transfer tayo ng learnings or nagta-transfer tayo ng understanding natin on a certain working process, kailangan na hindi tayo mag-deviate dun sa nakaset na process mismo. I mean, pwede din natin siyang i-develop pero not to deviate dun sa kung ano yung na-set na process wherein it is being set kasi to have or to tawag ito, na-set yun kasi may particular set of goals na ma-achieve in doing so. So while transferring knowledge to new employees or to the employees na susunod or mag-handle dun sa hawak mong process, you also need to transfer the learning in such a way na mas maintindihan nung pagpapasahan mo yung buong process. At while doing so, wag mo ring kalimutan na ituro yung mga key concepts or yung mga key processes siguro for that employee naman not to have errors then while doing so. Kasi dun sa transferring of learning din natin, sometimes may mga na-omit din na process wherein mag-cause din yun ng effect, bad effect especially, dun sa whole process pag may na-omit tayong process. So, upon transferring of knowledge, we must also secure or ensure rather na yung process na ita-transfer natin while we're training the new employee tama and adequate dun sa process na hawakan niya. Systematic training. Training should be systematic in that it's specifically designed, planned, and implemented to meet defined needs. It is provided by people who know how to train, and the impact of training is carefully evaluated. A simple first-stage model as shown. First, identify training needs, followed by the decide what sort of training is required to satisfy these needs. Use experienced and trained trainers to implement training. And lastly, follow up and evaluate training to ensure that it is effective. First, identify training needs, and then magde-decide ka kung ano yung mga kailangan mong training processes to address these training needs. And then gagamit ka ng mga trainers or yung more experienced employees to train. And lastly, of course, it is also important na mag-follow up ka and i-evaluate mo din kung ano yung natutunan ng training as well as kung ano pa yung mga dapat na ituro sa kanya for you to achieve the set goals na sinet mo before ka pa mag-undergo ng training. Different types of training. First is the just-in-time training. It is a training that is closely linked to the processing and relevant needs of people by its association with immediate or imminent work activities. It is delivered as close as possible to the time when the activity is taking place. Just-in-time training also, given such situation, pwede rin itong mag-rise up wherein ititrain mo na yung employee on that same particular hour or kung kailan nyo na-experience yung such situation na kailangan mong i-train yung employee to address that siguro problem or if not a problem, something na situational na magkakaroon din ng effect or impact sa company. Next is the bite-sized training. It involves the provision of opportunities to acquire a specific skill or a particular piece of knowledge in a short training session focused on one activity, such as using a particular piece of software, giving feedback, or handling an inquiry about the product or service of the company. It is often carried out through e-learning. Bite-sized, ibig sabihin may tina-target ka lang na specific skill siguro while training the employee. Kapag bite-sized kasi, ang tina-target lang nito siguro, for example, kung ano lang yung need mo muna as a new employee, kung ano lang yung pinaka-basic need muna, yun muna yung i-undergo or i-address mo dun sa training, under bite-sized training. Types of training. Training programs or event can be concerned with any of the following. Manual skills, including apprenticeships, IT skills, team leader, or supervisory training, management training, interpersonal skills, for example, sa leadership, team building, group dynamics, neuro-linguistic programming, personal skills, assertiveness, coaching, communicating, time management, which is also very critical and very important thing to learn, training in organizational procedures or practices, we're in induction, health and safety, performance management, equal opportunity, or managing diversity policy and practice. Planning and delivering learning events. This process of planning and delivering learning events and programs is described by the ADDIE model, which has 5 phases: analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Analysis phase. Under the analysis phase, In the analysis phase kasi, the learning goals and objectives are established, and the learning environment and learners' existing knowledge and skills are identified. Analysis phase, dito mo rin ma-check kung ano na ba yung existing knowledge, kung ano na ba yung background niya, kung may previous experiences na siya, wherein yun yung i-address mo to develop. Since hindi ka na magkakaroon ng sabihin nating basic training or dun sa pinaka-square one, since may may previous experiences na siya, yun na lang yung i-enhance natin na skills to achieve the set goals, or kung paano niya may work through completely or if more effectively yung job na i-assign for him or for her. Design phase. The design phase deals with subject matter analysis, the program outline, and the use of learning aids and assessment instruments. Here kasi sa design phase, since dito sa first phase pa lang, na-analyze mo na kung ano yung mga dapat gawin, dito mo na i-address or dito mo na din isa-set kung ano man yung kailangan mo sa training ground para ma-solve yung problem or para ma-enhance palalo kung ano man yung kulang dun sa skills and learning or understanding ng employee na iti-train. Development phase, the detailed program is constructed as conceived in the design phase. This covers the session plan, the outline, content, and learning outcomes of each session, methods of delivery, preparation of visual aids, handouts, supporting materials, and exercises, the arrangements of administering the program, the main lecture room, kung saan man, syndicate rooms, projectors, flip charts, and the final printed version of the program for distribution to nominating managers and later to delegates. Under this development phase, you should have also an outlined program or the list of sequences of the event. Ito mo na rin ipaplan kung ano yung pagkakasunod-sunod. For example, sa day 1 until the last day, dito mo na rin siya ipaplan, dito mo na rin siya gagawin, or dito mo na rin siya ipaplot. Implementation phase, the program is implemented as planned. Implementation phase, ito na talaga yung training program starts. Evaluation phase. Each session is evaluated by the program director and at the end by participants. The impact of the impact of the program on performance is measured and the degree to which it met expectations assessed. Evaluation phase, dito na yung assessment mangyayari. Kung ano man yung, kung may natutunan man, kung may na-develop man na skills, and kung ano pa yung kailangan na additional training na gagawin para mas maintindihan ng employee yung hawakan niyang job or para mas magkaroon pa ng better performance yung employee in doing such. Blended learning. Blended learning is the use of a combination of learning methods to increase the overall effectiveness of the learning process, providing for different parts of the learning mix to complement and support one another. Approach to evaluation. It is the planning stage at that the basis upon which each category of learning events or program is to be evaluated should be determined. This means defining expectations and the impact that the event will make in terms of criterion behavior, the performance standards, or changes in behavior on the job to be achieved in a learning process is to be regarded as successful. And terminal behavior naman, the actual work behavior of learners when they complete their learning program. Approach to evaluation. The aim is to establish the extent to which the event has achieved its purpose. And at the same time, it is necessary to consider how the information required for evaluation should be obtained and analyzed. The areas that need to be evaluated are, of course, the planning, the extent to which needs were properly evaluated, and objectives set. Next, conduct, how well the program or event was organized and managed. the degree to which the inputs of methods were appropriate and effective, and its cost compared with the budget. Next, yung reactions. Reactions are yung learning reactions ng mga participants throughout the training event. Next is the outcome, the impact the event made on individual, departmental, and organizational performance. Here, dito sa outcome mo na makikita if the training program is successful or when it still needs an additional training to supplement the previous one or the first set training. Application of evaluation. The more care that has been taken in the assessment of needs and the more precise the objectives, the greater will be the possibility of effective evaluation. This is the basis for conducting evaluation at various levels. Responsibility for the implementation naman of learning. Individuals should be expected to take a considerable degree of responsibility for managing their own learning or the self-directed or discretionary learning, but they need the help and support for their line managers and the organization, including the learning and development function. Responsibility of learning and development is being increasingly placed on managers and employees rather than on the L&D professionals. Leadership and management development. This chapter is about the organizations can do to develop effective leaders and managers. Bearing in mind the point made by Drucker that the prosperity, if not the survival of any business depends on the performance of its managers of tomorrow. Since managers of tomorrow, these are the employees who will be trained na next in line dun sa mga current managers or mga current supervisors or the managers or other bosses din siguro. Since the managers of the tomorrow, sila yung next and sila yung expected na susunod dun sa mga yapak ng mga seniors na din, senior managers, wherein kailangan din silang i-train properly for them to have or if hindi man ma-exceed yung previous performances ng mga sinundan nila, but at least deliver their work in an efficient manner and which also contributes then some company. Leadership and management development. It provides for managers to have the leadership and managerial qualities required to achieve success. They form a vital ingredient in talent management in association with the career planning and career management activities. The nature of leadership and management. There has been much debate on how leadership differs from management. The problem is that leadership involves management and management involves leadership, so that it may be difficult to separate the two. Of course, management needs leadership as well as leaders also needs the management. Leadership means inspiring people to do their best to achieve a desired result. It involves developing and communicating a vision for the future, motivating people and securing their engagements. Leadership skills include the ability to inspire others, persuade others willingly to behave differently, clarify what needs to be done and why, then communicate a sense of purpose to the team, understand as established by research conducted by the Tamkin that leaders cannot create performance themselves but are conduits for performance through their influence on others. Then lastly, get the team into action so that the task is achieved. For management naman, develop relationships and focus on the customer, building partnerships with both internal and external customers, balance technical and generic skills, wherein the technical aspects of management and management of human relationships. Venice viewed managers as those who promote efficiency, follow the rules, and accept
the status quo, while leaders focus on challenging the rules and promoting effectiveness. For Cutter, he saw managers as being the ones who plan, budget, organize, and control, while leaders set the direction, manage, change, and motivate people. For Hersey naman and Blanchard, they claim that the management merely consists of leadership applied to business situations, or in other words, management forms a subset of the broader process of leadership. So they have different notions about leadership and management development. For Birkinshaw commented that by dichotomizing the work of executives in this way, Cutter, Bennis, and others squeezed out the essence of what managers do and basically left them with the boring work that leaders don't want. His view on the leadership versus management debate was that leadership is a process of social influence concerned with the traits, styles, and behaviors of individuals that cause others to follow them. Since yung mga leaders nga natin yung first na nagkakaroon ng interaction with the employees or the staffs, wherein nagkakaroon din ng impact yun or nagkakaroon din yun ng influence sa mga staff na hawak din nila. Bergen observed that both management and leadership are needed and need to work closely together, often through the same person or team. For Mintzberg, he sums it up as he often did when he wrote, "Let's stop the dysfunctional separation of leadership from management. We all know that managers who don't lead are boring, dispiriting, where leaders who don't manage are distant or disconnected." I think the thought here is that hindi kailangang mag-debate between leadership and management, since these two words or these two is both are both essential then dun sa pinaka-training progress or dun sa learning and development process din ng employees or ng buong team. Leadership and management development compared. The term leadership development has replaced management development, perhaps because the importance of ensuring that people have leadership qualities has been recognized, while it is believed that they can be safely left to acquire management skills in other ways, for example, the experience nga. However, the theory different even though they are closely associated. Leadership development. It is sometimes said that leaders are born, not made. This is a rather discouraging statement for those who are not leaders by birthright. It may be true to the extent that some exceptional people seem to be visionaries, have built-in charisma, or a natural ability to impose their personality on others. But for me personally, hindi all the time applicable ang statement na leaders are born, not made. Since some leaders really work hard for them to become successful leaders, and hindi naman siguro sila pinanganak or hindi naman innate siguro sa kanila yung pagiging leader. They really work hard for it, for them to achieve that leadership or successful leadership. But for some, syempre, they were born being leaders in the sense that yung personality nila siguro of pagiging a leader is with them na naturally. Leadership development for Bolden. This is reflection, practice, self-awareness, personal support, opportunities to apply learning, and relevance to work. For Burgoyne, leadership development in the widest sense involves the acquisition, development, and utilization of leadership capability or the potential for it. Management development is concerned with improving the performance of managers in their present roles, preparing them to take on greater responsibilities in the future, and also developing their leadership skills. It is also important for the current managers to have their skills being developed. Syempre, being a manager is not just being a manager, since hawak mo yung mga tao, ikaw yung pinaka-role model, ikaw yung pinaka-leader dun sa team na yun, you also need to boost your morale in the sense na yung skills na meron ka or yung understanding and knowledge na meron ka is that very broad. I mean, hindi lang sa specific process or hindi lang sa specific na ganitong aspect ka magaling, but of course you also need to widen and you need also to develop yung skills mo while being the manager, since may mga tao ka rin na hawak and may mga tao ka din na kailangang i-train na hindi lang yung specific aspect na hawak mo or specific department na hawak mo, yun lang yung talagang masasabi natin na yun yung forte mo. I mean, yes, it is also important na kung saan yung forte mo or kung saan yung yung department na hawak mo, dun ka magaling. But of course, it is also required din siguro to have better understanding din dun sa whole process, not just on that specific department na hawak mo as a manager. For Baldwin and Pat Getz, it is a complex process by which individuals learn to perform effectively in a management role. Systematic approach to management development is necessary to meet the needs of organizations for the talented managers they require, and because the increasingly onerous demands made on line managers mean that they have to possess a wider range of developed skills than ever before. Formal approaches to management development. It consists of the process and events that are planned and provided by the organization. These should be based on the identification of development needs. The methods of the defining learning skills as described in Chapter 23 can be used to determine collective needs, and the formal approaches can be used are planned experience, which includes job rotation, job enlargement, taking part in project teams or task groups, and secondment outside the organization. This is possibly the most effective approach on the grounds that managers learn to manage mainly by managing. Next is coaching, a personal and usually one-to-one approach to helping people develop their skills and levels of competencies. Of course, mentoring then, the process of using specially selected and trained individuals or the mentors who will provide guidance, pragmatic advice, and continuing support that will help the person or persons allocated to them to learn and develop. Action learning, a method of helping managers develop their talents by exposing them to real problems. They are required to analyze them, formulate recommendations, and then take action. Action outdoor learning, getting teams of participants to carry out physical activities so that they can learn about how they interact or how they act under pressure as team leaders or team members. Next, the use of performance management is the process to provide feedback and satisfy development needs. This would be competency-based in the sense that they would specify the competencies. Next is the training by means of internal and external process. Internal, wherein within the team, of course, magkakanda kayo ng training. External, in the sense that may cross-training na magaganap for you not to have that specific skills lang that you have within the team, but of course to learn something more or to enhance your skills through cross-training then. Structured self-development. Following a self-directed learning program set out in a personal development plan and agreed as a learning contract with the managers or the management development advisor. Some informal approaches to management development make use of the learning experiences managers encountered during the course of their everyday work. Managers are learning every time they are confronted with an unusual problem, an unfamiliar task, or a move to a different job. This is where informal or at least semi-formal approaches can be used to encourage and help managers to learn more effectively. This also comprises the emphasizing self-assessment, getting managers to produce their own personal development, and encouraging managers to discuss their problems and opportunities. Emphasizing self-assessment and the identification of development needs by getting managers to assess their own performance against agreed objectives and analyze the factors that contributed to effective or less effective performance. This can be provided through performance management. Since managers also have this parang training matrix, or dito kasi na-address yung mga dapat pa nilang i-enhance or kung ano yung dapat na meron silang set of skills and understanding, of course. This is also being analyzed or assessed din based sa performance din nila by those superior pa sa kanila. Getting managers to produce their own personal development plans, self-directed learning programs, and then encouraging managers to discuss their problems and opportunities with their manager, colleagues, or mentors to establish for themselves what they need to learn and to be able to do so. Of course, helping managers to understand their own learning styles is very important to them so that they can make the best use of their experience and increase the effectiveness of their learning activities. This guidance may have to be provided more formally. The role of the organization. The traditional view is that the organization need not concern itself with management development. The natural process of selection and the pressure of competition will ensure the survival of the fittest. The role of the individual naman, the development is always self-developed. Nothing could be more absurd than the enterprise to assume responsibility for the development of a man. The responsibility tests with the individual, his abilities, his efforts, what he went to say. The role of HR and learning and development specialists. However, HR and learning and development specialists still have an important role to play. They interpret the needs of the business and advise on how management developed as a business-led activity can play its part in meeting these needs. Since HRD are the main department then na nagsasala or nag-filter out ng mga papasok na employee, responsibility din nila, of course, to assess din at some point kung ano na yung takbo ng department or kung ano na yung progress ng isang department for them also to target or to address some specifications wherein kailangan pa bang i-enhance, kailangan pa bang i-boost kung ano yung mga existing skills and knowledge ng mga company, ng mga departments, different departments or different teams. The role of HRD sa isang company is very much important. Tulad din ng mga role ng mga employees or ng staff as well as ng mga role ng mga officers or the senior management or kung ano man yung officers in line na siyang nag-handle sa mga employees din. Criteria for leadership and management development. The effectiveness and value of any approach to management development include the extent to which it links to organizational goals and context, and so has relevance for the organization as well as for its individuals. It also builds on and develops the qualities, skills, and attitudes of participants. It's supported by appropriate HR policies to do with recruitment and selection, talent, management, succession planning, and reward. Has the full commitment of those responsible for the operation of the process, including the line managers, is motivating to those encouraged to participate in it. It is also motivating to those encouraged to participate in it. To sum it up po, yung pinaka-thought po nitong learning and development is that after nga po ng selection process or process, you really need to have for them to develop their understanding then for the whole process or the whole set of goals ng isang company para magkaroon din sila ng mas maayos or magkaroon din sila ng better performance or more efficient work performance sa job. And for them also to equip them, syempre, kung ano man yung kakaharapin nila dun sa career or dun sa job specification na inilaan for them or na iniatang for them. It is also important din na ma-enhance dito yung skills ng bawat employee na meron sila para kasi each employee has a vital role din sa isang company. It's not just that yung employee na to siya yung pinaki-employee. It's not like that. Since everyone in the company plays a vital role, you also need to conduct such training for them then, for all of them rather. Hindi lang for that specific someone or for that specific officer, siguro. The management or the company itself must really conduct a good training for their employees then na magkaroon ng better understanding para magkaroon din sila ng better result or mag-manifest din sila ng good contribution for the whole company. So yun lang po, and thank you for listening. Ayun nga po, tulad ng sabi ko kanina sa GC, medyo mahaba-haba din po yung slides. So ayun, Doc, okay na po.
Okay, so thank you very much, Madam, no, for your well-comprehensive discussion. No? Learning and development strategies and practices are intended to ensure that people in the organizations acquire and develop the knowledge, skills, and competencies necessary to perform their jobs effectively and advance their careers for their own benefit and the organizations. Learning and development has essential superseded human resource development. It highlighted human resource development remains popular among academics. So it has never attracted the interest of practitioners. So that the learning and development is the process of obtaining and enhancing knowledge, skills, abilities, behaviors, and attitudes via learning and developmental events. Strategic learning and development is a method to helping people learn and grow that focuses on how the organization's goal will be attained through its human resources by utilizing integrated learning and development strategies, policies, and practices. Because strategic learning and development seeks not to produce a cohesive and complete framework from developing people by fostering a culture of learning and formulating organizational and individual learning methods. Learning and development plans are the active elements of a comprehensive strategic learning and development approach. They indicate how the organization intends to operate. Activities also occur within the organizations and provide recommendations on how these activities should be planned and executed. No? We have also a learning culture, no, which senior management, no, or line managers and employees generally view learning as a vital organizational activity to which they are committed, in which they regularly participate. The objective of organizational learning strategies is to enhance a company's resource-based competence. No, an organization's actually or an organization's individual learning techniques are determined by its human resource requirements, which are, of course, stated in terms of the skills and behavior requires fulfill business objectives. No? Learning and development procedures are complicated and diverse. No? Individual contributions to their own learning and growth are included. Siyempre, meron tayong tinatawag na self-directed or self-managed learning. Sabi nga ng ating presenter. We need to accept the fact that individuals learn both independently and from others. No? They gain knowledge as team members and through interaction with their bosses, co-workers, and others from outside the organization, or what we call social learning. No? People learn through both practice and instruction. Individuals' learning style will vary. Sabi nga nung natin during our college days, no? Ako when I was in college, preferred ko yung nanonood ng TV or kaya nag-work ako pero nagbabasa ako ng aking mga lessons, no? Nasa jeep ako, nakasabit ako sa jeep, but I'm also reading my lesson kasi prelim, midterm, final exam. No? So it depends. No? Individual learning styles will vary and the level of their learning will depend heavily on how driven or self-motivated they are. No? We have also reinforcement theory, cognitive learning theory, experiential learning theory, and social learning theory are the key learning theories actually. No? When it comes to organizational development, it involves the growth and acquisition of information, understanding, insights, processes, and practices within an organization in order to enhance its effectiveness. It focuses actually on the procedures employed by organizations to promote learning. It is not merely the sum of all learning and development activities conducted by the organization. So napakaraming ano natin. Now, learning in the workplace is experiential learning. No? Learning by doing and reflecting on experience in order to understand and apply it. So the majority of workplace learning occurs informally, although line managers play a crucial role in encouraging it. Okay? So sabi nga, meron tayong coaching, mentoring, e-learning, and we have also personal development planning. No? When it comes to leadership, leadership and management development programs guarantee that managers possess the necessary leadership and management skills for success. Na hindi naman pwedeng mga nasa middle level lang ang nagtitrain or nagkakaroon ng learning and development, even the bosses. No? Because leadership entails motivating others to do their utmost to attain a desired outcome. So it entails creating and expressing a future vision, motivating individuals and securing their participation. Sabi nila, di ba, wala ka raw, paano ka raw makaka-share ng isang knowledge or ng isang skills kung wala ka naman nun, no? Di ba? So, leadership development often include the cultivation of leadership software skills, no? Through various educational methods. Because I do believe, no, especially even you are BSBA student, no, still you have your own different field. No? Let's say there's some graduates who are focused on the marketing, no, financial management, no, and others, no, human resource management. No? So therefore, management development is primarily dependent on ensuring that managers have the appropriate sequence of experience which may be completed through self-directed learning and management practices courses. No? Coaching and mentorship can provide further directions. No? Then, leadership development programs prepare individuals for responsibilities and situations that exceed their existing level of experience. No? So, excuse. Management development involves enhancing the performance of managers in their current positions, preparing them for higher responsibility in the future, and enhancing their leadership capabilities or abilities actually. So formal approaches to management development consist of planned and given processes and activities. Included are organized experience, coaching and mentoring, action learning, outdoor learning, performance management, formal training, and self-development. Informal approaches to management development utilizes the learning opportunities encountered by managers in a course of their daily lives actually. Because we do believe that individual managers are primarily responsible for their own development, but they require direction, support, and encouragement from their immediate supervisors and the human resource department. So I think that's it for this topic.